The morning they rattled my lake gate, something old and stubborn woke up in me, same feeling I had the day we folded my father's flag and slid it into the cedar chest. I promised him I'd protect this land. I promised I'd keep our waters safe. Coffee steamed in my hand, black and strong. The porch boards were cool under my bare feet. Out past the cottonwoods, the lake lay flat as a skillet, a streak of pewter under a high blue sky. Then came the clatter chain on steel, the squeal of hinges that weren't going to give. I set my mug down, walked the gravel path. Crunch, crunch, crunch. By the time I reached the gate, 3 people were there. The HOA president, Karen. Pearls and clipboard at 8 a.m. a man I'd seen walking a tiny dog in a sweater. And a teen with a phone filming like this was breaking news. Morning, I said. You need to unlock this gate, Karen said. Like she was telling a child to pick up toys. The neighborhood needs swim access. It's 81 today. I already knew this wouldn't be about weather. I slid my hand across the lock, warm from the sun. This gate's on my land, I said. It's been locked since my father's day. The lakefront here is private. Karen smiled the way people smile when they're not listening. She held up a paper. New HOA rule. Shared amenities. The lake is a shared amenity now that our community is established. Your rule book doesn't outrank county records, I said, or a deed that's older than your well, older than all of us here. I kept my voice even. Short sentences. Calm. It matters how a man stands when he's in the right, sir. The dog walker cut in. My grandchildren are visiting. We pay dues. We deserve a place to swim that isn't full of goose poop like the public beach. Then take them to the public beach, I said. It's 3 minutes down the road. The teen giggled. He said, goose poop. She whispered to her phone. I pointed at the faded brass plate my dad bolted on the post in. 92. Private lakefront, emergency access only. Under it, a second plate the fire chief and I put up last year. Emergency key box fire rescue. We keep a combination lock on the chain. Number shared with the fire department. I keep our land safe. Emergency crews keep people safe. It's simple. Karen planted her heels in the dirt. You can't be the only one with water. This community was promised a lake lifestyle. I will be calling a vote. You can call a circus, I said. But it won't turn my yard into a tent. Heat crept up my neck. I took a breath. My father always said, say less than you can. Prove more than you must. They pressed closer to the gate, fingers curling around the chain link. I saw the lake reflected in Karen's sunglasses' silver light. My dock, the cedar canoe my father sanded by hand. I remembered him at dusk, breathing easy when the whip-poor wild started. He'd tap the canoe's ribs and say, this is the sound of work done right. Behind me, my wife, Sarah, came down the path. Ball cap, work gloves, practical as ever. Morning, she said to them. We're in the middle of mending fence. Lock it, Karen said again, voice harder now. Or we'll escalate. Escalate to what? Sarah said. A potluck? That got the teen to snort. Karen's jaw tightened. She produced her phone, tapped, and held it to her ear. Yes, this is an emergency, she said into the air. We have a neighbor obstructing community access and endangering residents in the heat. I felt the click inside me then, not anger. Just a steady switch to the part of me that measures and documents. You just told 911 it's an emergency because it's warm, I said, and because a private gate is locked. She ignored me. Yes, we need an officer, she said. There's a confrontation. He's being aggressive. I looked down at my hands. Open. Empty. Coffee on my breath. Not whiskey. Gravel dust on my toes. The only thing aggressive was the cicadas. Record, Sarah whispered. I lifted my phone and hit video. I set it on the fence post where it could see all of us. You're being recorded, I said, not unkindly. For everyone's safety. Wonderful, Karen said, lifting her chin. Transparency helps communities. We waited. The sun climbed. A bass boat nosed across the far cove with a whisper. Not a ripple touched our shore. While we stood there, a couple from 2 houses over wandered down with folding chairs, saw us, and stopped. "Is it open?" the man asked, hopeful. "No," I said. "It's my gate. It's our lake," Karen said. "Prove it," Sarah said. 10 minutes later, the first siren sounded faint and far, bouncing over the water, and something in my chest said, "Good, let's put sunlight on this." I turned the brass plate with my thumb so the letters caught the light. "Emergency access only." My dad's words were in my head, steadying me like a hand on my shoulder. "When they're loud, you be clear. When they push, you stand straight." This water is our work, our memory, our promise. The cruiser rolled in, lights spinning lazy in the daylight. The sheriff stepped out, hat low, not in a hurry. I knew him. Everyone did. He looked at me, looked at the group, then at the sign. He took in the emergency key box like it was the only thing that mattered. "All right, folks," he said, voice easy. "Let's talk about what's actually an emergency." I crossed my arms, calm, measured, ready to show, not shout. The lake, behind him, lay smooth as glass, waiting for truth to disturb it. And then I saw at the teen's phone screen. Paused on a rental listing. My dock, my gate. Private lake access included, the caption bragged, smiley faces bobbing like buoys. It wasn't my listing. Something more than heat tightened the air. If they were selling my water to strangers, this wasn't about a hot day. This was about a hustle. The sheriff tipped his hat at me. "You got papers?" he asked. I nodded. "I've got a deed and a promise." "Good," he said. "Bring both." Turned toward the house, toward the cedar chest and the drawer with the old plat map. And I thought, they think this is about a lock. It's about the truth behind it. I went to get it. I came back with a folder thick as a church hymnal deed, survey from 1968. With my father's initials in the margin, a county plat showing my lot touching the water and the HOA's property line stopping short of the willows. I laid everything out on the pickup tailgate like we were at a picnic for paperwork. The sheriff put on reading glasses. Karen leaned in. The dog walker hovered, clutching the leash like a rosary. "Here," I said, tapping paper. "Lot 12. My property. Lake frontage, 67 feet. No common easement. The only easement is this." I slid forward a smaller document. Laminated from the days we still laminated things, emergency access for fire, rescue across the corner to the lake. Recorded in 92, the sheriff nodded, slow. "And the emergency key?" "In that red box," I said. "Fire chief has the code." Karen didn't look at the map. She planted her nail on the HOA handbook like that was scripture. "We amended our rules last month," she said. "Lifestyle amenities include lake access. Our realtor told us the community would have use of the shoreline." "Your realtor's not the county," the sheriff said. "And your handbook is not a deed." The teen drifted closer, thumb flying on her phone. Sarah tilted her chin at the screen. "What's that?" she asked. The girl, eager to be helpful for once, swiped and showed us. There it was, the listing I'd glimpsed. Bright, cheerful, full of lies. "Lakeview Bungalow Swim steps away. Private gate for our community." The photos were unmistakable. My dock. My bench. My dad's old minnow bucket hanging from the post like a prop. "Who's listing?" I asked. The girl scrolled to the host page. A stylized photo of a smiling couple, arms around each other, wine glasses up like they'd won. The name made my jaw clench. Cameron and Jenny the same. Cameron, who'd joined the board this spring after a campaign about bringing vibrancy to the community. He didn't live on the lake. He lived 3 rows back. But he had followers and a drone. "Is Cameron here?" the sheriff asked. "He's at work," Karen said. Something in her voice lost its starch. "Call him," the sheriff said. Now, while she fumbled with her phone, the dog walker spoke up, voice small. "I didn't know," he said. "I thought the HOA had a deal with you." "They don't," I said. "The only deal is with the fire department, so a rescue boat can pass if it has to. That's why the gate swings outward, and the path is wide." The sheriff pointed at the emergency sign. He's set up for safety, he said. That's what this looks like. Karen covered her phone with her palm and stepped toward me like she needed to reclaim ground. People are hot, she said. The public beach is crowded. We're trying to build community. You don't build community by stealing someone else's shoreline, Sarah said. Karen's eyes flashed. Language like that isn't helpful. What is helpful is honesty, I said. Why is Cameron advertising lake access he doesn't own? Because a new voice broke in. The neighborhood needs it. Cameron himself jogged down the path, shirt tucked, tie loose, breath jerky like he'd run and rehearsed at the same time. We're putting together a summer calendar, he said to the sheriff. Float nights, kayak mornings, a harvest dinner on the dock. We were going to talk to you, he glanced at me, but then you started acting. Territorial. I had to laugh. Quietly. I started acting territorial when you tried to colonize my territory. Cameron's smile faltered. He pivoted to authority. Our bylaws allow the board to designate areas for community benefit. I'm on the board. The sheriff held up a palm. And I'm the law, he said. This isn't complicated. You can't use or sell what you don't own. Sell. Cameron bristled. We're not? Then what's this? Sarah said, holding up the phone with the rental listing. 3-night minimum. Private gate. Host-approved swim hours. That's aspirational marketing, he said. Aspirational trespass, I said. The sheriff exhaled through his nose, the way he does when he's done playing nice. All right, he said. He ticked points off on his fingers. 1. This is private property. 2. There is no community easement here except emergency access. 3. Calling 911 for a locked private gate on a warm day is not an emergency. Don't do that again. 4. If I get complaints about people cutting locks or hopping fences, I will be writing trespass citations. To the people doing it, and to anyone who told them to. Karen's face went pale, then blotchy. We'll sue, she said. We'll take it by adverse possession. Well, ma'am, the sheriff said, weary. You're saying words? That's all. Here's what's going to happen, I said, feeling that steady switch in me. Click another notch. We're going to have a proper meeting with the county clerk, the assessor, and the fire chief. We're going to put the plat and the deed on the table. And we're going to get a letter from the county attorney confirming what is and isn't a public access. Then you are going to remove every mention of private gate from your listings. You're going to email the neighborhood and clarify that my shoreline is not for community use. And you're going to apologize for using 911 as leverage. Cameron laughed, but it had a crack in it. You think you can make demands? I think I can set conditions on my land, I said. And I think sunlight helps. Sheriff, will you be there? I'll stand in the doorway and drink bad coffee, he said. County office, 10 a.m. tomorrow? Works. Works, I said. Karen tried a softer tactic. What if we managed it? She said to me. A sign-up sheet. Waivers. Lifeguard on weekends. Cameron's nephew is certified. Your nephew isn't my insurance, I said. Waivers don't fix what happens when somebody's little boy slips off my dock on a Tuesday and the wind takes him under. Just the water, tapping at the rocks. The teens stopped filming and looked at the lake like it could pull her in and keep her. End of show, the sheriff said. Everyone go on home. They trickled away, murmuring. Karen last, dignity bundled tight like a sweater around her. Cameron stared once more at the lock as if he could glare it open, then walked off. Thumbs pounding his phone, Sarah slid her arm through mine. You did good, she said. I'm not done, I said. If they're using pictures of our dock, there's more rot underneath. We spent the afternoon in the cool of the dining room, fans turning, Sarah at the laptop, me with files. We pulled county records. The original development plan for the HOA showed a strip of public land at the north, cove-intended lake access with a small gravel lot. Somewhere along the way, the HOA had put up landscaping boulders and a tasteful sign. Habitat area due. Not enter. They'd erased the real access so they could sell the fake one next to my tomatoes. By dusk. We had a stack of printouts and a pencil map marked like a battle plan. The Whitpoor Wills called. I could almost hear Dad answer back with that low whistle he used to use when the fish were biting. I locked the gate for the evening, checked the chain twice, then a third time, just because. I touched the brass plate. Emergency access only. Then I stood at the end of the dock. The lake held the sky the way a promise holds a man. Across the water, a single porch light blinked out. Quiet came down like a blanket. Tomorrow, Sarah said behind me. Bring coffee. Bring your backbone. I'll bring the flag, I said. It belongs in the room where this ends, 'cause this wasn't about a swim. It was about a story ours and who gets to tell it. We got to the county building early, before the heat sank into the bricks. Fluorescent lights hummed. A coffee pot burbled. The clerk, a woman with glasses on a chain who has seen every scheme twice, waved us into the small conference room by the map wall. The sheriff came with his hat in his hand and a smile like we were about to fix a broken fence. 15 minutes later, in came Karen, lips pressed thin. And Cameron with a legal pad and a jaw, he probably practiced in mirrors. The county attorney, Mr. Wilkes, a careful man who enjoys commas, sat down last. He flipped through the copies we'd left at his office the night before. Deed, survey, plat, emergency, easement. He read like a carpenter measuring twice. Okay, he said finally. Here's the law, and here's the land. Lot 12 abuts the lake. There is no recorded community access over Lot 12, only an emergency easement held by fire rescue. The HOA's designated public access is here North Cove. He tapped the plan. It appears to have been landscaped out of use. Karen sniffed. It's a habitat area. It's a public access, Wilkes said. The county approved it as such. You can restore habitat elsewhere. You can't wish away recorded access points. Cameron sat forward. So what you're saying is what I'm saying, Wilkes said. Is your board knowingly or not obstructed the actual access? Then attempted to commandeer a private shoreline to replace it. And you used the threat of emergency services to coerce the private owner. That ends today. The sheriff nodded. And if it doesn't end today, it ends with citations. Karen's voice went thin. We were building community. Wilkes folded his hands. Communities are built in the open, with notices and votes and recorded changes. Not with boulders at a public lane and a rental listing on someone else's dock. I set my father's folded flag triangles of blue and white in the table. The room went a little quieter, like it does in church when a baby stops crying. My dad taught me to lend tools and sugar and time, I said. He didn't teach me to give away what isn't mine to give. This dock is a memory. This shoreline is a promise I made, not a perk in your brochure. Cameron shifted. Something softened around his eyes, maybe the first sign he was hearing a person instead of a problem. Karen looked away. So, Wilkes said, practical again, here's the resolution I propose. 1. The county will issue a notice requiring the HOA to reopen the North Cove access per the original plan, with signage, parking, and safety measures. 2. The HOA will send a written clarification to all residents within 48 hours stating that Lot 12 is private property with an emergency easement only. 3. Any references to private gates or swim access on rental listings will be removed within 24 hours. 4. The HOA will reimburse Lot 12's owner for reasonable costs incurred due to this dispute, including legal consultation and any damage to fencing. 5. The HOA will fund an improved emergency access new lockbox, reflective signage at the owner's request, coordinated with fire rescue. And 6, the sheriff added, no more 911 calls unless someone's actually in danger. Karen opened her mouth, then closed it. Cameron scribbled, then stopped scribbling and just nodded. We can do that, he said, voice small. I'd add one more thing, Sarah said. Remove the camera you stuck in our cottonwood. Karen flushed. Camera. The sheriff raised an eyebrow. Is there a camera? Sarah slid a photo across the table taken from a ladder last evening showing a small Wi-Fi camera nestled in leaves. Battery pack taped to the branch. We found it when we were putting up new birdhouse gourds, she said. It's facing our dock. Cameron winced. That was for monitoring shoreline usage? It's for invading privacy, the sheriff said. Remove it today. Karen gave the smallest nod. Today, she whispered. Wilkes signed the county letter and handed copies around. His pen made a smooth sound on the paper, like a boat pushing off into clean water. We all signed to acknowledge receipt. In the corner, the coffee pot hissed and went quiet. When the access is reopened up north, Wilkes said, you can have your float nights, your kayak mornings. Invite people. Make it nice. But you do it where the map says you can. Outside, we stood under the courthouse oak, the air already hot. Karen paused, then stuck out her hand. It shook a little. I didn't understand, she said. I should have. I'm sorry, shook her hand. Make it right, I said. Cameron looked at me like he was passing a test he hadn't studied for. I'll pull the listing photos today, he said. And I'll put my Saturday into moving rocks up north instead of making mimosas by someone else's dock. Bring work gloves, Sarah said. Those boulders don't move for pretty words. They left. The sheriff tipped his hat. Quiet justice, he said. Best kind. That evening, when the heat finally let go, we walked down to the gate. The chain sat easy in my palm. I checked the lock, checked the key box, ran a hand over the brass plate. The lake smelled like warm cedar and cut grass. Crickets started up. A heron lifted from the reeds, legs trailing like careful lines on paper. Across the cove, a small crew gathered with shovels and a wheelbarrow. Cameron pushed a rock. It pushed back. He pushed again. Sweat ran dark down his shirt. Karen handed out bottled water. A couple of neighbors who'd watched from a distance yesterday came to help, eyes on the ground, the way people look when they're trying to fix a thing they broke. I walked to the end of the dock, sat on the planks, put my feet in. The water was warm at the top, cool an inch down, like it always is in July. I could hear my father's voice, not words. Just the sound he made when something was finally going the way it should. Sarah sat beside me. You going to fish tomorrow? She asked. Maybe, I said. Maybe I'll sit. Some winds you don't celebrate loud. We stayed there while the sky went pink, then purple, then that deep quilt blue that holds the first stars. The lake held it too. Every bit. Here's the thing I'd tell anyone who asked, especially folks my age, who have fought a few fights and learned which ones matter. Sometimes you stand alone for a day so that the next day you don't have to. Sometimes you guard a gate, not because you hate your neighbors, but because you love your father, your promise, your home. Boundaries aren't walls. They're lines of respect. Drawn right, they keep people together. If you've had to plant your boots like this calm, steady against noise and push tell me about it in the comments. I read every one. Maybe your story helps the next guy who's scared to say no when no is the right word. And if you believe some fights are worth having because they protect the things that make us who we are, our family, promises the work of our hands, then hit subscribe. We'll stand up together, quietly, until the waters calm again.